Welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. I'm your host, Corey Graham. Join us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where the independent new authors come first. Author Harley Justly has just written a powerful memoir. It's titled Journey of Estrangement. And we're going to be talking all about this book right now. The author, Harley, is here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Harley, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate this opportunity and be able to help other people in the community as well.
I can't wait to find out more about Journey of Estrangement, Harley. Can you tell me what you've written about here?
Yes, it was a personal journey about an adult child who needed to spread her wings. And it talks about, being a parent is not an easy journey by any means. The word estrangement I have found when I was writing the book is a word that a lot of people have no understanding of. Modern days, they call it no contact. And what it means is basically what it says. It's an adult child who decides that it hinders their growth to be in a family, and they go on their own and do their own growing, which isn't a bad thing,
So I'm curious how this all came about, Harley. How'd you get inspired to start this?
My daughter was the estranged daughter, and if somebody were to tell me years ago that I was going to have an estranged daughter, I would not have believed them. My daughter and I are now speaking, but it was hard. It was hard because she needed to grow on her own. I was kind of a helicopter mom, and when a couple of problems hit our family, she needed to just grow up on her own, make her own decisions. So that's what inspired me in the beginning. And then I went to counseling for 9 months, and she was in counseling and she worked through, and we've come together now in a relationship, a different relationship, which is good, a more mature relationship. So that's what started it all. And with doing a lot of research and things like that, it's kind of a taboo subject. A lot of parents don't want to talk about it because they think of themselves as failures. And it's not about failing. It's about sometimes you need help, and that's okay.
So what does your writing background look like? Are you new to all this, or do you have some experience in it?
I've written forever. I love to write. I did journaling forever and a day. Growing up, I enjoy, most people are like, ooh, term papers. And I was like, I love term papers. So I got really good at writing. And this is my first manuscript. I have another one right now that is going to be coming out probably in February, around then. And I have a couple other ones that I've written that I will be submitting periodically throughout the time. So I enjoy writing. Writing is very therapeutic, and it also is a great way to express how you see the world.
So once you got started on Journey of Estrangement, was this a long process, the writing, publishing, everything?
No, it went really rather quickly. I finished the manuscript. It took me 6 months, and processing during the publication, probably 3 months to get done totally. So it really wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be.
And then once it was finally a real thing, you're holding that first copy of Journey of Estrangement in your hands, Harley. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, I cried like a baby. I cried in a good way, but in another way it was real, It's real when it's in black and white. So, and to accomplish writing a book, I can't even say that was a dream of mine because I never thought it would happen. So it was a dream. I think it was shocking, but it really cemented my thinking that, each one of us has something to say, and it's important to say what we need.
What a wonderful book. This is definitely needed out there. Again, it's titled Journey of Estrangement, written by Harley Justly, published by Newman Springs Publishing, and available basically everywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Harley, how wonderful it's been to be talking with you tonight, learning about your story and all about this book. Thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sitting down here with me right now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable is author Paul Mowery. Paul, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with me tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, brother.
Paul, you have a new book out. It's titled Finding Myself Within Jesus, A Poetic Journey from Addiction to Redemption. Paul, can you tell me all about this?
Yeah. About 8 years ago, I was at the end of a 10-year addiction. I mean, I had bounced on bottom for a while, and I asked for help from God, and he gave me a motorcycle accident that turned my life around. While I was recuperating from that, I missed a couple court appearances and was sentenced to a 9-month faith-based rehab center. And as everybody else that goes to a rehab center, at first I was kicking and screaming, but then one day I decided that I was in the best place for God to help me with my problems. So I bit, and I started to turn my life around. When I did that, I started journaling, and the journals turned into poems. At the time, I didn't realize it, but I was putting down the date and the time each one happened. And usually within about 15 minutes, it was written. So I know it wasn't me that was doing it. It was something that God had his hands all in. Then when I graduated Shalom, I got everything together. I called Christian Faith Publishing and said, what do I need to do to get the book published? They said, send your book here. More than likely, we'll look it over and send it back to you and tell you what you need to do. Then, do that, send it back to us, and that's a process. Well, my fear of failure kept me from doing that for 5 years. And again, God kind of set me down. I had some issues with my back. I had a motorcycle wreck. I broke my back in 5 places.
Oh, wow.
He set me back down again with some complications there. And while I was there, I got everything together, called back Christian Faith Publishing. Actually, I talked to the same lady, and she remembered me. And she said, hey, it's the same process. Send it to us. We'll grade it. I said, I've got it all together. I actually put it all together on my phone while I was laying in bed and sent it to them. And 2 weeks later, she called me back and said, congratulations, your book hits every check mark we look for in a book. So, again, I know God has his hand in everything that I've done with that book. And my fear of failure kept me from getting it out there for 5 years. But I'm so glad that it's now out there.
It's such an important book. So would you say that this is best for maybe those who are struggling with addiction or maybe in recovery?
Definitely. Yeah, the poems I wrote were things that were rattling around in my head that I was going through emotional issues in real time dealing with recovery. Like I say, that's how I dealt with it, was to write it out. And so I know that, it's not a cookie cutter thing that everybody will get, but I guarantee you there's things in there, there's nuggets in there for everybody that is going through recovery that will be able to see something and go, hey, I need to hear that, or I need to read that.
So once you started working with Christian Faith, your was this a long journey overall for you?
It was. It took about a year or so. It's just a process, going back and forth. How they worded it, how I wanted it worded, and back and forth. And then also I did a audio book, and going through that was pretty wild, interviewing voices for my book. That was a humbling experience.
So during that publishing process, what was the most challenging part of that for you?
The most challenging part, probably just dealing with my fear of not getting it right. There were days that I would sit there and not do what they were needing me to do for the next step, just going, oh man, what if I ain't doing this right? And do I need to do it this way? Do I need it that way? It was, again, my fear of failure. As soon as I say that, I'm automatically thinking, God was sitting back just looking at me going, come on, son.
So now your book's out there, people are reading it. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of this all for you?
The fact that I get to talk about Jesus. I actually worked for the faith-based recovery center that I went through. I have for the last 7 years. And so I'm constantly getting to talk to the clients about my book, and about Jesus and about turning your life over to him and what he can do for you. I put myself through a devastating addiction, but God figured out a way for me to use it.
What a wonderful book. I know so many lives are going to be blessed by this. It's so important. Again, it's titled Finding Myself Within Jesus, A Poetic Journey from Addiction to Redemption. This is written by Paul Mowery, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available pretty much everywhere, like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Paul, thank you so much again for coming on the show and telling me about your story and about this book. It was really great talking with you.
Thank you, Corey. I loved it. This was awesome. Thank you again.
This is a powerful, true story of identity, faith, and redemption across cultures and castes. It's written by Cindy Woods, and it's titled He Knew Me First. Cindy is sitting right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. That's what we're going to be talking about. Cindy, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
Thanks, Corey. It's a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Cindy, can you tell me all about He Knew Me First? What are readers going to be finding here?
Corey, readers are going to be finding an amazing true story that if it were not true, people wouldn't believe it if it had been in Hollywood. This is a story of a young man born in Nepal to the highest caste, to the richest family in his small village in a rural Nepal town. But because his birth was inauspicious in Hindu thought, and because his father believed he already had too many sons to share his inheritance, he decided to give the baby away to a family in the lowest caste, the untouchables, when he was only 11 days old. He was raised as an untouchable till he was 11 years old, and then discovered that he was indeed a Brahmin instead of an untouchable. In a very bold move, he confronted his biological mother, his biological father having died by then. Eventually, she took him back into the fold, and she gave him the highest honor in the family, and that was becoming a Hindu priest. He did become a priest at age 13, but this didn't fulfill him as he thought it would, and he became a searcher and a questioner, and eventually a Christian, and eventually after that, a Christian minister. But it was fraught with peril, with many attempts on his life, both from family and friends and from strangers, and from the political government that he was battling against through his efforts to bridge the castes. So how he came through that, how he survived the many, many attempts on his life is the crux of the story.
Cindy, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I think this would connect with all readers, readers who like adventure, readers who like biography, readers who like true history, but also readers who are questioners themselves. And I think the book is one that helps you to wrestle with what you personally believe and why you believe it. And that's what makes it an important book for everyone.
So like you said, this is a true story. So can you give me a little background on it? How'd this come about?
It came about through God, in my opinion, Corey, because the way that I met the subject of the book was that here in my local home church, my dad used to serve as an usher. And one day he was feeling unwell, went out to his car and suffered an almost fatal heart attack. Until the subject of this book saw him in his car, went and got the defibrillators and an EMT and saved his life. And that's how we met.
So what was that spark? What inspired you to write this?
Hearing his story. Once he began telling it to me, I said, I believe that God has called you to tell this story and to be a beacon for Jesus for others. And we began to meet regularly. He began to tell me more and more of the story. And eventually it became He Knew Me First.
So once you got started on He Knew Me First, Cindy, was this a long process for you overall, the writing and publishing and the whole thing?
It was a very long process, Corey, because for one, it took a long time for the subject to tell me the story and for him to have the confidence and the courage for it to become public, because he is still a wanted man in Nepal. And he wants to protect the identity of people that he's helped and struggling Christians in Nepal, where there's still a lot of persecution for non-Hindus.
Well, what a wonderful, inspiring story in this book. I think it's going to bring hope and encouragement to so many readers. Again, the title is He Knew Me First. This is written by Cindy Woods, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Cindy, thank you again for coming on the show and telling me all about He Knew Me First. It was really nice talking with you.
Corey, it was a pleasure talking with you too, and thanks to everyone who's listening.
The new book by Jonathan Delmar is a raw and emotional journey through pain, identity, and hope. He's right here with me now. We're going to talk all about the book. Jonathan, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Jonathan, what can readers expect whenever they open up Dear Journal?
Dear Journal is a motivating and inspiring, but also reflective work, one in which when you open it up, I hope that you see yourself through many of the struggles, through many of the character flaws, through many of the questions that the protagonist, Evelyn Page, has as she travels through high school, as she travels through relationships, as she travels through trying to figure out her identity, trying to figure out not only who she is, but why circumstances seem to work against her. I hope that through her perspective, through her journal entries, through her friends, that people will see the consequences of actions, the weight of decisions, in the hopes that we can all make better decisions as we navigate through life.
What sort of a reading audience did you have in mind for this?
I would love to impact, obviously, as many as we can, but my primary audience is adolescent teens looking for, as a teacher, as a coach, and as a mentor of 6th through 12th graders. That's the reading audience I would love to target.
So I'm curious how this all came about. Where'd you get the inspiration to start writing this?
Actually, I wrote this book in high school, and my senior year turned into a conglomeration of songs that I had written and journal entries that I had written myself based on, I was raised with sisters and one brother, but I had a lot of sisters. And so watching their experiences, watching my friends' experiences, and kind of taking note of that and journaling that and songwriting on that created for me this perspective of, and this question of why. Why are they going through that? Why does this keep happening to them? Why am I seeing these reoccurring patterns? Once I began to teach and coach at the high school, junior high level, that question became even more prominent. And though I finished the book senior year of high school, I put it down for a long time until this question became so pervasive that I decided to publish the work officially.
So is this all new to you, or do you have experience in the whole writing and publishing thing?
The publishing portion is new, but I've been writing since about 11 years old. Fiction noveling is something that I picked up actually from my closest, oldest sister. You know, I kind of gleaned the art from her, just watching her do it for so long, and then decided, hey, I'm going to try that as well. But I've been kind of putting my thoughts to paper since about 11, so quite a few years now.
So once you had your manuscript ready and you started working with Christian Faith Publishing, your publisher, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing process?
The waiting, the anticipation of going from getting a great idea to edit the manuscript to waiting on that idea to get fleshed out, realizing that the idea doesn't work as much as I thought, going back through the idea, finding sort of flaws in the woodwork, so to speak, of this doesn't work here now because this is happening, or this doesn't work here now because this is happening, rereading that manuscript 8, 9, 10 times to find those flaws, taking copious notes and things of that nature, and then waiting on the response from the publisher, getting their feedback on what worked and what didn't, and just the waiting game of, okay, this is really happening. That was definitely the most difficult part, but also the most enjoyable once it came to fruition.
Yeah, so now that you are a published author, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
The impact. I really appreciate now being able to reference and provide a work, because when you say something out loud, it can be forgotten. When you write it down, there's a weight to it that sticks. And so the impact of being able to hand this book to someone who's going through something similar or has gone through something or may be about to go through something that you can kind of pinpoint and say, hey, why don't you take a look at this, and hopefully it will help to prevent some of the things, some of the roadblocks that you may run into.
Well, this book has some important messages, and I think a lot of readers are really going to connect with it. Again, this is called Dear Journal. It's written by Jonathan Delmar and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So head over to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes, even traditional brick-and-mortar stores. You'll be able to pick this up. Jonathan, it's been really wonderful talking with you and learning all about Dear Journal. Thanks again for being on the show with me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Author Jean Tange has wrote a heartwarming tale of friendship and imagination in her new book, Oscar and George's Adventure. I'm really happy we're going to be talking all about this book. Jean is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Jean, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Jean, can you tell me all about what you've written in Oscar and George's Adventure?
Well, it's a story of two little bears who have sat on a shelf for way too long and are looking for their next little best friend. And when he moves into the house, they, through magic, I guess, become alive. And they cheer up the little boy because he's pretty sad. And anyway, they end up doing a couple of good deeds and helping a girl get a kite out of a tree and becoming almost like the Three Musketeers, helping each other out.
Jean, what sorts of readers do you think this book is best for?
Oh, elementary kids, definitely. Although I have read it, I am a librarian. I work in a library at school. I've read it to several kids in 5th and 6th grade, and they seem to like it. They seem to pick up on the theme of kindness and helping each other out. And they like the idea of the bears coming to life and helping the little boy. So it's really little kids all the way, I would say, into middle school have enjoyed the book.
So how did you get the idea for this? How did this all come about?
Well, my husband, his father would tell, he had 5 boys. There were 5 boys in my husband's family. And he would tell them little Oscar and George stories. He made up the idea of the bears and Oscar and George coming to life. And then when we had our daughter Ariel, and I was an English teacher at the time, so I was always correcting papers at night. So my husband would put our little girl to bed, and he would tell her Oscar and George stories. So then I took the idea, and I love to rhyme. I just get a kick out of rhyming. So I took Oscar and George and turned it into a rhyming book. And that's pretty much how it came to be. So it's kind of a family thing.
So have you ever done anything like this before, or is this all something new for you?
Well, like I said, I was an English teacher for 33 years, and I taught several creative writing classes. So I was always helping kids write, improving their writing, improving their stories. So I did a lot of that. So when I finally retired from teaching, I thought, you know what? I have this idea for this story, and I just sat down and worked on it for quite a while. And that's kind of how it came to be.
So was this a long process then for you overall, the writing part and the publishing, the whole thing?
Well, yeah. The writing part, I probably had done in about a year. When I retired, I was retired for like 6 months, and then our school librarian, I teach in a small rural school in eastern Montana, and our school librarian called me and asked if I would like to come back and work in the library a couple days a week. So I had most of my story written, just hadn't done, the fine tuning of it. So I kind of put it aside, and then every now and then I'd pull it out and I'd work on it, and I'd do a little tweaking here and there. At some point in time, I let a few people read it to see what they thought. And then I just kind of put it aside for a while, probably several years. And then one day, I don't know what got me going with it, but I thought, I should see if I can do something with that, if I could ever get it published. So that's when I turned to Christian Faith Publishing, and they published it for me. So, yeah. So
I guess it's been quite a process, several years, in fact.
Mm. Well, I love books like this that are full of great positive messages. Again, it's titled Oscar and George's Adventure. It's written by Gene Tange, published by Christian Faith Publishing. So get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Gene, thank you again for coming on the show. It's been really wonderful talking with you tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been fun. So, yeah, I hope people read it. It's a lot of fun. If you love to rhyme.
The Tip of the Sword, a history of the pioneers, patriots, and preachers of Sinking Creek Baptist Church in the Watauga River Settlement, Volume 1. This is the name of the new book written by H. Eddie Fields. We're going to be talking all about it. Eddie is right here with me now at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Eddie, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. It's a privilege.
Eddie, can you tell me all about the Tip of the Sword? What are readers going to be getting into here?
First, you did very well at saying Watauga. Many people have trouble pronouncing that word.
Oh, thank you.
The book is about, I am the church historian at the Sinking Creek Baptist Church, and several years ago began writing another history of the church. We are the oldest church in the state of Tennessee. It was before the Revolutionary War in 1771. So when I began to write the history of the founding fathers of the church, I found myself really right. There are two stories, really. There's one of the church itself, and there's one of the Watauga River Valley settlement, which is a very unique part of American history. Those same people who were founders of Sinking Creek Baptist Church, many of them were instrumental as they were true American patriots. They fought in the Revolutionary War. They came into this frontier to fight for and to seeking liberty and freedom. And it's a fascinating story, I think. And I write it from a faith-based perspective because, to me, when I see history written in the secular world, many times it leaves the things of God out of it. And I wanted to make sure that this history, because it's of the church and this Watauga River Valley, I wanted to be sure that people saw God's providential hand in their lives.
So would you say this book is primarily for history buffs, that they would like it the most?
I think, yes. I think it would be. I think it crosses several things. I think people who enjoy Revolutionary War history, state of Virginia history, many of those people that came here into the Watauga River Valley came from the Shenandoah Valley region of colonial Virginia, Tennessee state history, of course, and Baptist church history and Christian church history. It has all that. So I think it goes across a lot of lines there that I think will interest, a lot of people, I hope, from all those different aspects of this history. But primarily, yes, history book.
Eddie, can you tell me a little bit about your writing background? It sounds like you've been doing quite a bit of it.
Well, I have. In my career, I was a technical writer, where I'm maybe not a great writer. I'm a hard worker and very used to research. If you read the book, there are probably 400 citations in the book. It's a very serious history. So I wrote training documents and operational procedures for several years, and then I've been a reader and a writer and other things. One of my hobbies is fly fishing. I've written articles for like Angler magazine and things like that. So writing is something that I love to do, and writing about those churches in Tennessee and the people of this river valley was really a kind of blessing to be able to do it, to be frank with you.
So you put in a lot of time and work writing it. You had your manuscript worked up, and you started working with your publisher, Covenant Books. But what did you find the most challenging part of that publishing end of things?
Well, it's a very tedious process, and it's time-consuming. Sometimes you take two steps forward and one back, and then the editing process. I was very fortunate from the editing aspect, which I suspect most first-time authors or first-time publishing a book have issues with. Here again, through God's providence, there was a lady that was a published author that I go to church with. I have her listed on the book, but her name is Liz Bowman. And I actually went to church with her, and she's a published author, and she's English. She taught English, and so she helped me a lot in the editing process. And then we used the Chicago manual style. It was very meticulously done, and it was difficult. The folks at Covenant were very good to work with. They were very good to work with. It was difficult and long, but it was a good experience. It was a lot of hard work.
Well, this is a fascinating book. Again, it's titled The Tip of the Sword, a history of the pioneers, patriots, and preachers of Sinking Creek Baptist Church in the Watauga River Settlement, Volume 1. This is written by Eddie Fields, and it's published by Covenant Books. So pick it up at places like Amazon and Barnes & Noble and iTunes, also right down the street at your local bookshop. Eddie, it's been great talking with you tonight and learning all about this story. Thanks again for being here on the show with me.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
Author Diane Given has written a captivating fantasy novel. It's titled Arborea, The Gift. Diane is joining me right now here at the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Diane, welcome. Thank you for being here with me tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Diane, can you tell me what readers are going to be getting into whenever they open up Arborea, The Gift?
Arborea, the Gift is about 5 college friends who discovered they have extraordinary abilities, but they're going to need to learn to use their abilities well and learn to trust and depend on each other because there's something evil spreading throughout their school and it's up to them to destroy it. Through their adventures, they not only learn to love each other, but overcome their personal fears and things that isolate them from each other.
Well, Diane, what kinds of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
Well, my target readers by genre would be preteen to late teen probably, but I have heard from all ages, from elementary school to senior citizens who have enjoyed reading it. So I think they would appreciate it because it's unusual and interesting. I will give a spoiler. Arborea is the Latin word for trees, and trees play a mysterious and very important part in the story.
So can you tell me how this all came about? What gave you the inspiration for it?
So this book was based on a dream that I had. And I wanted to tell my husband about the dream, and so I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. And when I let him read it, he said it sounded like a short story. So I wrote initially maybe what would be the first chapter and maybe half of the last chapter as a short story. And then I let my mom read that because she was always my biggest cheerleader when it came to writing. She's the one that said she thought it could be a whole book.
So is this your first time publishing, or have you done this kind of thing before?
This is my first published book.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
So being your first one, was this a long journey overall for you, the writing and publishing, the whole thing?
Yes, the dream in writing that initial short story was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. My husband jokes that it took me 9.5 years of saying I was going to write it, but only 6 months to actually write it.
So you had it written, you had your manuscript together, and you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith. Diane, what would you say was the most challenging part of that publishing end of things for you?
Well, there were several other things during that time period that I thought God was leading me to, wanting me to be involved in. But each time I tried to get started on them, things would kind of fall apart, and I would feel the Holy Spirit telling me, just finish the book. It even became kind of a mantra for my husband. Almost every day he would say to me, finish the book. I would randomly hear YouTubers that I listened to watch or radio announcers on different radio stations or just random people at stores or whatever ask me, have you ever thought about writing a book? So it finally became pretty clear that God was never going to allow me any rest until it was finished.
Diane, when this was finally a real thing, Arborea, The Gift, first copy comes in, you're holding it in your hands. What was that like for you?
It was very surreal. After working on it for so long, there definitely were times that I thought seeing it published was a pipe dream. So it was pretty amazing to actually hold my book in my hands and see my name on the cover as the author.
Yeah, so now it's official. You're a published author, Diane. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
I think the most rewarding so far was when my husband took a copy of the book and put it on our bookshelf. And he told me that it had to go on a specific shelf, that it was the one with all his other favorite authors. So that was very meaningful. But so at least at home, I get to share a bookshelf with Shakespeare and Hemingway and John Maxwell.
Wow, you're in great company there.
Very humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking down the road, do you think you might be writing and publishing more?
I do. Actually, Arborea, The Gift is the first in a series. Book 2 is already in progress. And I already have a couple of other ideas as well, so there may be other books too.
Well, what an interesting book. I think people are going to love this. Again, it's titled Arborea, The Gift. It's written by Diane Given and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So get it at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also right down the street at your local bookshop. Diane, thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's been really great talking with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
I'm holding a book right now. It's a practical devotional tool for families and Sunday school leaders. It's written by Michael F. Schmidt. It's titled Biblical Lessons from Grandpa, Preparing the Next Generations. Michael is right here with me now at the show. We get to talk all about the book. Michael, welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, when readers get into Biblical Lessons from Grandpa, Michael, what are they going to find here?
Well, just to go back a little bit, I was saved and born again right before I got married in my early 30s. I didn't have a lot of training. I went to a local Bible study. And what I was noticing among my children and grandchildren is really a need for a different worldview. I felt like the world was kind of capturing them. So I started writing Sunday messages and sending them out via text. And then after about 2 years, it turned into a book. So I never really originally meant it to be a book, but God saw fit to turn it into a book. So I'm just glad that I was able to do that.
And like I said, this is best for families and Sunday school leaders to use as a devotional tool.
Correct. So it's very simple. Each lesson has a Bible verse or verses, and then some thoughts about what does it mean to me, and how to apply it.
So when it comes to writing and getting published and all of that, Michael, are you experienced in this, or is this kind of new ground for you?
No, it is new. It is new ground. My career was in technology as a sales manager for Hewlett-Packard, a large corporation. So my wife and I were involved in 3 church plants. And during those church plants, obviously, you learn a lot about God's Word, not only from a knowledge point of view, but also application.
So once you got started on this, was this a long journey for you overall, the writing and the publishing and everything?
Well, as I said, the writing occurred via text to my kids and grandkids and some selected friends over a 2-year period. But I was probably with Christian publishing from beginning to end, it was probably a year and a half.
Yeah, Christian Faith is a great publisher. And once you started working with them, Michael, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing end of things?
Well, it takes a lot of editorial work as well as graphics work to make sure that what's going into the book actually represented what God's Word says. So it wasn't my opinion. It was more something, as I said, that the parents and kids and Sunday school teachers maybe could take one a week and not only get the verses into their heads, maybe help them memorize it, but also maybe report back on how they were living it out.
So I could only imagine when that day came for you, what you were thinking and feeling whenever that first copy was in your hands, Michael. What was that moment like for you?
I'll be really honest. I was just amazed. I mean, I can point to probably 5, 6, 7, 8 times in my life where I really felt like God used me. And that was the most exciting part because I really couldn't see beyond the headlights. I had no intention of having a book when I started sending the texts out. And it's just interesting. The God of the Bible is such a great networker. And through a whole series of events that I could not have really foresaw, the book came about. It's almost like how I felt when my wife told me that we were having our first child.
So looking ahead, what are the chances, do you think, that you'll be writing and publishing some more, do you think?
Well, since I started, I've continued on Sundays to write new lessons for the last year and a half. So I have more than enough material now if I wanted to do a volume 2. So still trying to decide, asking in prayer whether, that's God's will that would happen. I hope so.
The title of the book is Biblical Lessons from Grandpa, Preparing the Next Generations. It's written by Michael F. Schmidt, published by Christian Faith Publishing, and available basically everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Well, Michael, thank you again for coming on the show. It was really nice chatting with you tonight.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Author Comfort Asamoah has written a vibrant tale of nature, childhood wonder, and the majestic wisdom of an unforgettable elephant. The name of the book is Kokroko, the Elephant, His Leadership, Be a Forest, and the Life of One Big Elephant. The author, Comfort, is right here with me now, and we get to talk all about this book. Comfort, welcome to the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Can you tell me all about Kokroko, the elephant, and what readers are going to be getting into here?
Readers are going to get into governance, the love of the two people, the elephant, nature, and, especially the bear forest and what was entailed within the bear forest.
And Comfort, what sorts of readers do you think this would connect with the most?
I think it's good for every reader. Most people don't know much about Africa. Most people really wonder what goes on there. And so this is a kind of short story, my own personal childhood story, to open them to know what was going on and what we used to see every day in our lives.
So how did this all come about? What inspired you to start writing the book?
Two things or three things. First, my own experience with the elephant in my father's hard-working village when they were trying to plant, to grow cocoa. Cocoa is what they use for chocolate, cocoa and butter and all those things there. And so it was there that I got to know the story of cocoa. And then I was young then, but I followed it. And two, sometimes we meet people, like Black Americans or white people, and then you say you are from Africa, and then they wonder what goes on there. And some of them will ask, what goes on there? They don't know. So I have decided to write this story to let them know the kind of beautiful life we used to have over there.
So is this the first time then that you've written or been published?
Yes, this is the first time.
So being your first time, was this a long process overall, the writing of the book and the publishing process and everything?
Yeah, it was a long time. It took a long time. I submitted the book and then, the editing, and then comes and I have to also look through it and then send it back. And so it took a while.
So once you started working with your publisher, Christian Faith, what did you find the most challenging part about that publishing end of things for you?
The most publishing was the editing part of it. Apart from that, everything was okay. The publishing, the editing was a little bit, I keep on, saying I want this and that, and then it comes back and then they say, but then later on everything went all right, and then I went ahead of it.
I'm looking at it right now, and the artwork is beautiful. The cover is great. So was that an easy thing to put all together?
It's just is that how the bear forest looks like? Bear forest, it looks like there were, trees and rivers and nature was so beautiful. So that's how it looks like. It's beautiful. It used to be a beautiful place, and it still is a beautiful place.
We put so much hard work, so much time into this, and then that day comes and it's a real thing. You get your first copy and you're holding it for the first time, Comfort. What was that moment like for you?
Wow, you couldn't believe it. I was so, I'm just looking at the book and the book was looking at me. And then I'm thinking, oh, is that a bear forest? And then I'm also thinking, maybe Kokroko wants, me to bring him out, outside, let people know the majestic animal and how he used to control the forest.
Well, so now you're officially a published author. This book is out there for the whole world, Comfort. What's the most rewarding aspect of it all for you?
To look at people's faces and say, wow, when they look at the illustration and they look at the picture, the books and this, and then, wow, that's beautiful.
So looking ahead, do you think you would be doing this again? Do you think you'll be writing more?
Yeah, my second book is already in, and I'm going to start to publish it soon.
Oh, what a beautiful book this is. Again, it's titled Kokroko, the Elephant, His Leadership, Be a Forest, and the Life of One Big Elephant. It's written by Comfort Asamoah and published by Christian Faith Publishing. So pick it up at places like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Comfort, thank you again for coming on the show. What a great book this is. I really appreciate you.
I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
The new book by Greg L. Davis explores the idea of divine reparations for those impacted by America's racial biases. The name of the book is Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead. The author, Greg, is right here with me now at the show, and we're going to be talking all about it. Greg, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Corey.
Greg, can you tell me all about Black Man and what readers are going to be getting into here?
Yes, I'd like to do so by starting with an analogy. If today were actually August the 12th of 1861, and we were in a room, most of the persons like myself that are Black persons in the room would likely be slaves. Now, if someone walked into that room and said to us, hey, did you know that in less than 5 years, you're going to be free? You're going to have control of your family life. You're going to be able to worship where you want and to work where you want. And in fact, you're going to be on the road to being a citizen of the United States and be able to vote. Most of us in hearing that would not even be able to conceive the changes that this person was talking about. And yet that report that was given would have been true. And so that situation actually did happen just that particular way. Now, if we move down the road 100 years from that to August the 12th, but today we're August the 12th of 1961, and I was sitting once again in a room full of Black persons, and someone walked in the room and they said, hey, did you know that in less than 5 years, Jim Crow segregation in America is going to be dead? You're going to be able to work where you want to work. You're going to be able to go to any schools that you qualify for, have a job that you want, and be able to actually enjoy public accommodations just like white persons in America, be able to vote in any state and national election. There would still be a real struggle to believe that. And that's because for over 80 years, no generation of Black persons had ever seen that. And yet that person would have been telling the truth. So here we are actually in August the 12th of 2025. We are in a moment that is very, very similar to those two moments. So in a very real sense, Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead, is designed to help others understand the hour in which we are living and thereby prepare to take their most advantageous place within it.
So, Greg, how did this all come about? What gave you the idea to start off on this?
Well, that is a good question. I would say it was really what I would call a divine moment of epiphany in January of 2023, where my eyes were actually open to see that my skills as a writer, knowledge of history, and the experiences as a Black man and Christian had really prepared me not only, Corey, to be an author, but also to be the delivering messenger of this message.
So have you ever done any kind of thing like this before, or is this all kind of new for you?
Actually, I have been writing all of my life, and I found my gift as a writer as a sophomore in high school. And I have written, a lot just about, I was in corporate America for over 14 years, and people found out that I could write. So, I normally did a lot of communication pieces. And then I actually took a sabbatical from the corporate world for 9 months and actually wrote professionally for a child welfare agency. But in terms of writing a work like this, yes, I've done it twice. The first time I did it, I wrote a fictional piece about 13 years ago and had it self-published. In my mind, it's not the equivalent of this book, because this book is actually the first on my journey as a professional author, and the inspiration is so much different.
Well, what an important book this is. Again, it's titled Black Man, A Prophecy of Hope for the Times Ahead. This is written by Greg L. Davis, published by Covenant Books, and available basically everywhere, like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, and also traditional brick-and-mortar stores. Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling me all about this book. It was really nice having you.
Thank you, Corey. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of the ReaderHouse Author Roundtable, where authors from all walks of life come together to discuss the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of publishing their books. We hope to see you back here every Friday night at 8 p.m. or listen anytime via podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and PodServe, to name just a few. The Author Roundtable is sponsored by ReaderHouse Online Bookstore, where independent new authors come first.